Hey guys, it's Cameron, my review for Velvet Buzzsaw. And what Velvet Buzzsaw is essentially about is we center on these various group of artists. They are very much dedicated to their work and pretty much nothing else. And one day they happen upon this art from this unknown artist that has recently been deceased. And very quickly after, they start to realize a lot of weird shit starts to be happening, and these paintings may very well be coming to life and may interfere with their life and may actively be trying to kill them, and that's really all I'm going to say. So Velvet Buzzsaw overall, I was massively hyped for this film. As a huge fan of Dan Gilroy, I've loved what I've seen in Nightcrawler, and knowing that him and Jake Gyllenhaal were going to team up again, it just seemed like a recipe for success. The trailer was fantastic. It had such an amazing cast. And considering, that Netflix has actually been getting better lately, well, not so far this year. In fact, the other Netflix films I've seen, I will review at some point, but not very good so far is all I'll say. This one looked far more promising. This looked like a film that was really going to point them in a very exciting direction. It was actually my most anticipated of this entire month. It was my most anticipated of the entire year, for sure. And is it a slam dunk? No, it's definitely not. This is not necessarily the film that you really were expecting. It's a much different film than the trailer suggests. However, it's not bad. It just is not nearly as well crafted as I think it could have been. There definitely are a lot of problems with it for sure. But we're just getting into right now, starting off with the cast. And look, while there are quite a few significant issues with this film, the cast really is not one of them. I think everyone really does turn out a really great performance here, but the standout without a doubt is Jake Gyllenhaal. And I mean, why wouldn't it be? He is one of the most versatile actors working today. This film very much does show that. Mort is a character that is very specific when it comes to art. He pretty much critiques everything down to basic elements in his life, and he's a very quirky character in that way. He's very fascinating, and when he eventually starts to realize what is going on, he wants to kind of look more into the conspiracy of this artist and his connection, all that. I thought was very compelling. Gyllenhaal just does such a great job in this role. He takes it seriously, but never too seriously, and I think he definitely handled that very well. I was very impressed with what he did here. You never once see Gyllenhaal. You very much do see the character of Mort, and I was overall very impressed by him, as I usually am. It's not one of his best performances or anything. However, Gyllenhaal is always fantastic, and just as he's just as fantastic as he is in any other film, because he really does bring it here. Someone else that really did impress me is Zawe Ashton as the character of Josephine. Now, I haven't really seen this actress in much of anything, but I do think she's actually going to be pretty big after this film. I really liked what I saw from her. She is basically the main sort of, not necessarily protege, but the main person that is interacting with Mort. They have a very interesting relationship, and I thought she definitely did a really good job here. I was overall very impressed by her, and I definitely did see the chemistry between these two. The rest of the cast, all very talented. They all really do turn out some great work. Rene Russo, Toni Collette, John Malkovich, everyone really does do a great job here. I can't really think of a single dud in terms of acting, and that's something I was definitely very impressed by here. The entire cast, everyone is really fantastic. Everyone really is on their A game, and I really did love pretty much everyone here. Now let's get to the directing and the writing, because here's where we get to the more problematic issues with the film. Because while Dan Gilroy, I think, had a lot of interesting ideas with this film, that really is the main problem here. This is a film of ideas. It is not really a film of very good directing. The tones that he has here are really not well balanced, because the film itself, it has three very distinct tones, and again, all of them do work. I don't want to say these tones don't work, but they don't work when they're as blended together. Because on one hand, the film is trying to be like a satire. It's trying to be a satire of people who are very overly critical, who they look at criticism as a part of their life, and that's something that I can very much relate to. This is something that I do all the time. I consider, you can consider it a hobby, but I consider it more as something I just really love doing, and, someone who really pours their heart and soul into it. This film is kind of making fun of, and it does it in a very good way. The problem is the film is also trying to take itself seriously, and it is trying to be more of a social commentary on art and things like that, and the darker side of the art industry, and that definitely is interesting. But then the film tries to lean into more, generic horror territory, and these three tones, while they all are very good, they just do not blend well here. And I think that's the biggest problem when it comes to this film, is that Gilroy overall, he just did not seem to have a focus of what he wanted to tackle in this film. He seemed to bit off way more than he could chew, and we'll get more into that with the writing, but I just felt his directing here. It's not bad. Like, I don't want to say his directing is really bad, because he did have a vision. I just don't think he had a clear enough vision. I think he had more ideas than anything, and he did not know really how to fit it all into one film. And I think the film very much would have greatly benefited if he would have maybe looked it over a second time, and I think it just would have been better directed. Just pick a tone and stick with it, because the film just, it does not seem to know what it wants to be. Is it trying to be a satire? Is it trying to be a critique on, the art, on artistry? Or is it trying to be a horror movie? It doesn't seem to know what it wants to be, and I think that does hurt the film. But the other biggest problem with the writing, besides that, getting more into the writing, because the directing and writing really do go hand in hand here. They really do exhibit the same issues. The other biggest problem with this film is the cast here. While all of them, like I said, do a really great job, there are way too many characters in this movie, and most of them just do not really serve much of a purpose. Besides Mort, who is a really fantastic character, may I add, I really did like getting into his character, his plight, what he's going through. There's a lot of interesting things about him. He's someone who, like I said, he is very critical. There's a great scene, for example, where he ends up at this funeral. I'm not going to say how he ends up at this funeral, but he's even critical at a funeral, and it's hilarious to watch. Stuff like that is just so spot on with that character. They do get into, some of his romantic life and things like that, and that stuff is really interesting. The problem is, Mort is such an interesting character that everyone else is so one note and just does not, hold up in comparison. Toni Collette, for example, great actress, but to be honest with you, there were many times this movie where I forgot she was there. I really forgot that she had a significant role in this film, because she just doesn't really have much to do. A lot of the characters here, it's just kind of them arguing about art and wanting to marvel at the various paintings that this one sort of, that this one artist left behind. And again, that is an interesting idea, but that's really all they do with them. We never really get that in-depth look at them, and the whole movie, it's trying to be this commentary on how these people are so obsessed with art that they just focus on that, and they don't really seem to care about anything else in their life. And again, I wish they would have focused more on these characters, because a lot of them are just very one note to me. Collette definitely being one of them. John Malkovich is another one. Very talented actor, but I kept forgetting he was in this movie because they don't really do anything with him. Rene Russo, as good as she is, she's just the one note sort of designer who's just constantly barking orders at people, and that's really all she kind of does here. She really does not serve much of a purpose in this film. Daveed Diggs, Billy Magnussen, so much great talent here, but they're just wasted. Perhaps the most wasted, though, besides Toni Collette, is actually Natalia Dyer. I was so surprised with how wasted she was here. Her role in this film is literally just a reactionary role. That's really all she's here to do. She's here to react to when these characters die, because some of them do die. That should not be a spoiler. It's literally in the trailer. And she's here to relay information to characters, and that's really all she's here to do. She does not really play any significant role into this whatsoever, and that very much did let me down for sure. And I wouldn't be complaining as much if there were ideas introduced that they could have fleshed out. For example, Velvet Buzzsaw actually relates to a band that Rene Russo's character was a part of. She was in this band called Velvet Buzzsaw. We hear about it once. She has a tattoo on the back of her neck, and they never bring it up again. And I kept thinking, how much better would this film have been if we actually would have flashed back to that, and we would have seen that come into play, showing the type of person that Redora used to be, that she wasn't always this sort of pompous, over the top, boss in that way. She was, much more focused. She had a much better, she had more compassion for others and things like that. There's so much they could have done with that, and the fact that they did not do that really did disappoint me. I think there was a lot of potential with that character, and the fact they just kind of glossed over it, that really did upset me overall, and I definitely was very let down by that. And there are many instances like that, but for me, that's definitely one of the most blatant things that I think they very well could have dived into and just simply didn't. And again, it just shows how underwritten this film really does feel. On the flip side, though, I actually do like a lot of the concepts in this movie. Again, I've already talked about the idea of, criticizing art and things like that. That is definitely very interesting. There's a lot of stuff this film does get into with the art industry that I did not know, and I do think it could have been touched upon very well. Also, the horror idea where it is these paintings that are literally killing people, and the art is these people are so obsessed with the art that it starts to kill them, and they start to become so like hypnotized by it in the state of euphoria, is a great idea. There are so many things you can do with that, but again, because of how underwritten these characters are, you A, don't really feel anything when they're killed, B, it doesn't really completely hold up why they are the ones that are being killed. There's not really a good explanation there, and I think they could have done a much better job with that. um Also, I will say though, the deaths themselves, they definitely do deliver. I do think there are some really well done deaths here. I was overall interested in this story. I liked where it was going, and again, seeing Mort's connection to this artist and him getting more invested in this artist and trying to find out more about him. Again, a really great idea, but it just does not feel as well thought out as it could have been. Again, this entire film, while there are a lot of ideas I like, it felt like a first draft. A lot of it felt like it should have been revised a second time, and I think we could have gotten a much better film here overall. The cinematography here is pretty good. It definitely is really great to look at at points. There's some really beautiful artwork on display, and sure, that's definitely really good. There is one kill, though, in this film that looks terrible. I don't know what happened there, because the other ones actually do look really good. There are some really creative ideas put into it with the way they go about the kills, and it's not like anything you've seen before. I think the Final Destination comparisons are honestly very unwarranted, because these are not on the level of that at all. There is one death, however, that is really badly done, and I don't know what was going on there. Most of the film does look really great, but this one particular scene really did not work for me at all, and I don't really know what was going on there. The score to this film I really do like as well. It's very quirky and mysterious, and I think it fits well into the film. And the editing, I will say, like, again, while I was not very while I definitely did not get what I wanted out of this film, I was never really bored by it. I was always interested in seeing where it was going, and I don't think the film necessarily dragged for me. If anything, I think we needed more. I think we needed more time with these characters. I think they needed to add an extra 20 minutes, and I think it just really would have benefited this film overall, but would have especially benefited, like I said, is if it just would have had a script revision and things like that. Ultimately, at the end of the day, Velvet Buzzsaw is just very disappointing. There are a lot of ideas here that I really do love. It has a very talented cast. There are definitely some really great kills for sure. But because the fact that we don't care about the characters and the story is not nearly as well fleshed out as it could have been, I just left this film feeling very hollow. I felt like there was a lot of potential that could have been done here that just simply wasn't, and it just really did disappoint me. Again, I don't necessarily want to fault Dan Gilroy, because I think he had a lot of great ideas here. I just don't think that he thought it out as well as he could have. I think he had this great idea. He wanted to make it into a script, and he just didn't revise it. And I think that really would have benefited the film overall. Again, there's a lot to like here, but at the end of the day, I was definitely very let down by this film. And I am going to give Velvet Buzzsaw overall a C+. Really disappointing stuff overall, guys. Like I said, this is not a very good year for Netflix so far. I have yet to watch something from them that I actually like this year. I mean, TV-wise, sure, they're doing great, but movie-wise, not really. I really, there's not really much I've seen from them that I actually do like. But that's it for this video. Hope you guys enjoy. If you have seen Velvet Buzzsaw, let me know what you guys thought of it. Love to hear your thoughts, and we'll see you guys in my next video, and we'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.